Good Shepherd, fourth in the Angel of Death series, coming December 9th.
Happy Thursday, everyone! I'm your host and author, Stevie Jo, and welcome back to the Composition of Imagination. This is the show where we do a deep dive into my creative mind and we kind of examine my writing and the worlds I've created, the fun ways that we get the books that I have made and how we get them in your hands. So today I have very special guests with me. I want to introduce a few of my book guardians. And in order to do that, I kind of have to explain real quick what a book guardian is, just so we're all on the same page. Authors typically send out a request for what's known as beta readers. They're just people who read your books in advance of publishing. They help you with things like continuity, some editing that maybe your editor missed by accident or something like that. They can also offer up like reviews, just kind of helping make sure that your work is more polished and geared toward the reader before it actually gets published. So to earn the title in the world of Angel of Death of Book Guardian, you have basically earned my absolutely unconditional trust for these books because, as other indie authors will know, it's super hard to get your book out there and let someone read it because this is your baby, your brainchild. So it's really hard to let someone read it for the first time. But they have earned the trust and they are very enthusiastic about the books, just like me. And basically, a book guardian is a play on the characters that I have in Angel of Death series, where the guardians of heaven are basically protecting all of that. And so they help protect all of the writing and the books and stuff and help me sell them and do fun stuff like this. These two here give me very honest feedback about my books. We already went through one really long process of getting feedback, which was super great for book 4. And so they support me in my sales efforts. They've like totally earned trust and respect in that. We have, we've been to 3 cons together.
I believe.
I know. Yeah. I know where we were vending and selling like that. That's big. Yeah. And so honestly, I don't think I could have done it without having you guys there. I would have been a disaster and a half. So that is why we decided to do this and give them their own episode to be able to just kind of tell you a little more about themselves. That is enough of me talking. Let's introduce the book guardians. I have just a few questions prepared for both of you guys. Some of them about Angel of Death, some of them just kind of fun little things about you that I thought people would like to know. So we're going to start with this beautiful woman over here to my left. Like you happen to sit to my left. And I even put that on there. That was so clever and just happened to work out.
Accident.
So she is a guardian in more ways than one. She's incredibly supportive, an amazing friend, and she is one of the most fun people to have around. I swear.
Yeah, I am.
See? So, ladies and gentlemen, my sister, Tasha.
Hey.
So we're going to dive into the very first question that everybody loves so much. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, like she said, I'm like one of her sisters and everything, and I've loved her books. I've been a huge supporter of her. I'm born and raised Florida girl, so not originally from here, Kentucky, but that's fine. Still bleed blue, just with orange. See, I'm a great dog mom, no kids. Let's see, I'm her husband's favorite sister, I like to think. So
sorry, Christine.
Yeah, sorry. But
well, we'll move on to like more specific questions.
Yeah.
What do you think of Angel of Death so far?
I really enjoy it. It's a really good book, and I'm not a reader.
It's true.
Yeah, no. Like, my favorite books were like Cat in a Hat and Great Eggs and Ham. That's where I'm at right there. So yeah, I really do enjoy the books. They're really good. They really keep me interested and keep my mind going, and I'm excited to see what happens next in them.
So now tell everyone, this is going to be really fun, I promise. Tell everyone who your favorite and least favorite characters are and give us kind of a reason why. Start with your favorite.
One of my favorites is Hope. She is an angel in heaven. She's very driven. She knows what she wants and she tries to go after it. I admire her for that. She has a lot of ambition. She doesn't let things stop her. Let's see, my least favorite character. Well then. How do I don't like him. He's a douche. And it is Ezra.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Ezra. He's not a nice person. I just don't like him. And the more, once you read, you will find out why. He's just not a great, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I just don't like him. He's very much a dick.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And can you believe at one point he was going to be the leading man?
No.
Like, he was going to be the love interest that took the whole series. And
don't like that idea.
Yeah.
Thank God you didn't do that.
I changed that real quick.
I appreciate that. Majorly appreciate that.
I still see the overtones, though.
Yeah, because I had a whole plan for him, and after writing the first book, I was like, no, it has to be, he can't be this way, because he's fun for me to write, but yeah, it's almost like Sauron pouring his hate and malice into the One Ring. That's like what I do when I write Ezra. I'm like, all of this goes into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't like him.
Yeah, and every time we talk about Ezra, she's always, you can see the hate. If he was a real person standing in front of us,
yeah,
he
there'd
would
be
probably,
things strong.
Yeah, he would have a broken nose or two.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some non-AOD, just fun questions. If you could live anywhere else in the world, where would you want to live?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably Italy.
Why?
Italy, it's a gorgeous country. Never been there. Love the food. Love the wine. Love
the food.
The food and the wine. How can you go wrong? The language is gorgeous. Just everything about it. It's amazing.
You know, later on, you find out, this doesn't spoil anything. Later on, you find out that Kaylee actually spent like several years in Italy while she was modeling, and she ended up being a mistress to a guy in the mob.
Of course, why wouldn't she be?
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. So just a fun tie-in. Okay, now if you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Oh, that's a good question. I would probably give good chunks, like I would give some to my mom just because that's the type of person I am. I would definitely give some to like you and my brother just because I love and adore you guys.
Well, that would pay for everything for the books.
Yeah. And I'd probably get me like a nice good sized house, a couple more dogs, take a good vacation.
You could go to Italy.
I would go to Italy, but like I would probably travel a little bit and kind of get the things I want to get and then put a good chunk of it also in savings just for, you never know, but yeah.
Responsible.
I mean, I would definitely have fun. Like, me and you would definitely go shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's just, we would go shopping. Like, I would have to.
Close down Torrid.
Yeah, it would be definitely that Pretty Woman thing, like...
We would have to have someone cater food in.
Yeah, it would be like, we need major sucking up here.
Yes.
We'd probably order, like, DoorDash some food into us just because.
Yeah.
But yeah, a nice house, nothing too big, because that means I have to clean it.
No, you could hire somebody.
Yep, sooner or later the money's going to run out. So we got to kind of, like I said, I want to kind of stash some away to kind of, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
And get me, like, there would be signs. I would probably get more tattoos.
Yeah.
I would definitely get me another little Pomeranian dog to carry me around because I need a good purse dog and, stuff like that.
Get the stroller to put them in.
Yeah, I'm very much I'm a dog mom.
Very much, yes.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Thank you for answering the questions. So now we're going to move on to our next book guardian. We call him Superman. His real name is Jason, but we call him Superman, not just because he likes it. or like Superman, rather. But he has been a huge fan of Angel of Death since its first publication. Like, whenever I printed the first book, it was like, so I did a thing. He was a huge fan of it. He is by far one of the biggest nerds I know, and that is super complimentary. I'm not like being like, nerd. No, it's like super complimentary. I swear to you, I don't think a movie or TV show exists that this man does not know.
Hey now.
So, and we're going to test that here in a minute. I just want to say about him, he's got a heart the size of the moon. We all adore him for it, like seriously. So this is Jason.
Hey everybody.
So we're going to start with the same everybody's favorite question. Tell everybody about yourself.
I'm Jason. I've been a big supporter of the cause, so to speak. I work, went through college, did a lot of stuff. Here I am now. Yeah, that's kind of how life is. You know, you get to a point, and it's just you got those dots, and you're going, okay, what am I doing now? But this, I like to have fun and everything, and this is a good outlet. It's something, because you don't see this often where somebody is really taking a chance and going after their dream and trying to get it off the ground. And, whatever support myself, Tasha, anybody can provide, that's just more fuel to get this thing going. And, what we're up to at this point, I mean, the train's coming out of the station, so it's about to really start picking up. It's going to pick up steam, and that's what really excites me. Is that going forward, this is just keeps building on itself, and going to the cons and interacting with other authors and other vendors and stuff. You just see the passion and stuff, and that really inspires what we're all doing.
Yeah. And, I like that you said that, because I can't remember if I told you guys, but I saw a thing on one of the author forums I follow where an indie author such as myself, posted a question where it was like, does anybody else feel like they have zero support? From family, from friends, from nothing. And the amount of responses in the affirmative was shocking to me.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, I can't even imagine if I didn't have at least Gary my husband, to support, and like just let me read them to him so that it's out there. But then for you guys and like my mom and everybody else to be so, it's like, that I couldn't imagine a world without that. So that is really special.
You've got to have a core group in order, because otherwise you're just, aside from, it's a passion project for yourself. Yeah. You're really just kind of putting your head into the storm and trying to go through quicksand at the same time. I mean, and without the support, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am very appreciative of that.
And we're glad to help.
Oh, yeah. So let's dive into Angel of Death now.
Awesome.
So Jason has already read book 4. So book 4 comes out December 9th. It's called The Good Shepherd. And he did have some opinions on it, some very strong opinions.
It's good, though.
It is. It's really kicking off. I mean, I think you'd agree. It's really kicking off that, like, next phase in Skylar's life where it's like, okay, we've already conquered the, I don't want to do what I was told to do, and now I have this choice, and here I am. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but
it's she's still figuring out who she is.
Yes, very much so.
And she's not really getting, it's sort of like you with your book. Instead of having like the guardians like us, in a way she's kind of doing this by herself.
Yeah, so she's the opposite end of the spectrum, and she's like, what do I do? And book 4 really puts before her this almost path where she's like, okay, I know if I go down the bright rainbow road, everything will be okay. But there's also this dark and dreary road, and now I'm being chased. Oh no, the dark and dreary road it is. Like, you just, she
is
just
it really
of,
that, or is she hearing words of temptation? Like, you want to come down this way.
Temptation does bite back hard, as the tagline for the Good Shepherd goes. So.
Yes, it does.
So, in that vein, gosh, I can't even believe it's almost, book 4 is almost available. What do you think of the Angel of Death series so far?
I like it because it has a good, strong foundation. Mm-hmm. When you first start reading it, it's the descriptions of the different worlds and realms.
Yeah,
you can visualize it fairly easily, and then once you start diving into the story, it really picks up a visual that you could literally see yourself there, basically being almost like a POV.
Yeah.
Watching all this play out, and then you get into the second book and the third, and you really start seeing, the little personality quirks and parts of the terrain that they're going through that you could look in your mind, and especially people that are from Kentucky can easily, very easily sit there and say, hey, I know those kind of roads.
Yeah.
I know those kind of trees.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And now that we're getting into book 4, now all the pieces are starting to come together, and you're going, ooh, you can really feel an emotional connection that you feel there's a tide coming.
Yeah.
Versus, well, okay, this is chapter 5 and we are moving this way. No, it feels very organic.
Yeah.
Like if we were all dealing with something, you could just kind of feel like almost like the hairs on the back of your neck starting to stand up, like something's coming.
Yeah.
But you don't know what it is.
Yeah. The mystery.
Yes.
So the next question I think is a little tougher for you than it is for Tasha. The asking who your favorite and least favorite characters are, because I know you've got such a love for a lot of them. But man, some of my characters, when people hate them, they hate them. They're polarizingly hate them. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Yes.
I've got a few personally that I hate, but that's fine. So tell us, starting with your favorite.
I gotta say, it's really grown on me, but I'm really digging Elias.
Yeah?
Because at first he was like sort of not spoilery, but kind of the shining armor dude.
Yeah.
I'll help and do the right thing. And now we're starting to see what really makes him tick.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that aspect, because I hate when you have characters that just are one thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm the hero.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we have Superman in the world and stuff like that and everything, but that character's written that way. That's the only way people can see him.
Yeah.
Elias was the good guy, but could be bad guy.
Yeah.
Type.
Yeah.
Which any character could be that way. So I like that progression. And Cordelia's
Your least favorite?
Yeah, she's yeah. I mean, Ezra's up there because he very much has.
You can feel. I don't know if you can feel through the microphone and the video, but man, the hate for Ezra runs deep over here.
Trust me, people. When you read the books, you'll know where we're coming from.
Yeah.
I promise you. You'll be like, oh, I know this kind of person.
Yeah.
But that being said, granted, Cordelia's my least loved character. Ezra, same way. But that's the good thing about these books, is that you really feel these characters. It's not like yeah, I don't like that dude. No, you really feel it because you see the progression in each book of how the character, whether it's going in a good direction or a bad direction or any direction, you can sit there again. You visualize and yourself there and see these people.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That was a good answer. So now we're doing some of the, less Angel of Death questions. And this is a question I think the whole world wants to know. Anybody that knows you and knows we call you Superman and stuff, if you could be any iteration of Superman, which one would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough.
I knew that would be a good question.
That was. Are we talking live action comic or
any at all? I'm not gonna pigeonhole you to one medium. Any animated Superman, comic Superman.
I like Henry Cavill's Superman.
Yeah. So Tasha's like, Henry Cavill.
He's a good one, and it's not a super popular opinion, but I actually really dig the Brandon Routh interpretation. Granted, it was an extension of the Christopher Reeve vibe from the original Superman movies, but I thought he was really trying to continue the presence of Superman and how Christopher Reeve played it, but also put his own little spin on it. Now, granted, a lot of people disagree on how it was portrayed, but let's face it, people, he didn't have a lot to work with. But when they did Crisis of Infinite Earths on CW, he was able to come back and play the Kingdom Come version, which is basically the Christopher Reeve Superman old. And he completely killed it.
Yeah.
And I love the way he played that. So if it was an iteration I would play it like how he did it.
Okay, that's fair. So he's basically explaining this to a couple of us that I've only seen one Superman movie, and it was the first one with Henry Cavill, I think, because that was where he killed Zod, and everybody was up in arms about it, and I was like, I think that was fabulous because that made for such a good character arc for him. Like you were saying with Elias, where he seemed too chivalrous, knight in shining armor before. To me, that's how Superman was, and to have him make that tough decision, I was like, damn, that really puts him in a new light.
Yeah.
And makes him more like he's not just the alien from Krypton that everybody calls him. He's a man too.
He's not the Judeo-Christian
Exactly.
Messiah.
Exactly. So that's the only Superman I know. But
it's not a bad one. I mean, it's a good choice too.
So, as I mentioned before, moving on to the next question, he has a very vast knowledge of movies, TV, that kind of stuff. So, go ahead and recommend 3 movies that our Composition of Imagination audience would enjoy.
Okay. First movie would be Dragon Slayer. Came out in the early 80s. It was actually, the special effects were done by Industrial Light and Magic. It was like one of their first movies outside of Star Wars.
Was that the video game?
No.
I'm thinking of a different thing.
No, you're thinking of Dragon's Lair.
Yes, okay, yes.
No, this one had Peter McNichol in it. I think it came out in 1980 or 81.
Okay.
I think 81. I could be wrong. I apologize. But it was one of the first times they actually used puppets and stuff in stop motion for the dragon and made it realistic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it really scared you. I mean, you're a little kid and you see it and you sit there and you basically, and they did the Jaws technique where you saw parts of the dragon, but you didn't see the whole thing until way later. And it really creeped you out. I mean, when you were a little kid, you were like, whoa.
Yeah.
And, little spoiler on that. There's a scene where it's attacking a village. And I know a lot of people like, oh, dragons shooting fire and stuff.
Right.
But you got to remember, 1980 or 1981, whenever the movie came out, seeing this thing come down, attack, and then they have a shot where you see the full moon, it's clouds and stuff, and then you see the dragon sitting there flapping its wings, flying away.
That's really cool.
It's a shot that just sticks with you. So I highly recommend checking that out for, fantasy people if they haven't already. Good comedy. I always default to, it's an underrated, but I always love it, Sorority Boys.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, that was
And
fun.
it's the whole, gender swap thing, but I love it because it's just really funny.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't
stupid
you meet
funny.
one of them?
Yes, I did.
Michael Rosenbaum, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He was sitting there just rattling off. We were rattling off quotes back and forth. It was great.
Of course. All I can think of when I think of Michael Rosenbaum is LexCon when he had the sign language interpreter say diarrhea over and over again. He is such a sweet man.
And he's funny.
Yeah, he has that genuine good sense of humor. So that's a good pick.
Yes, it is. Let's see. Let me think of the third movie. A good drama. Obviously, you got to go back. I go old school. Very old school. Maltese Falcon.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with a good Humphrey Bogart movie.
I like that you picked that over Casablanca because I feel
Everybody
like
likes Casablanca, but
I feel like the Maltese Falcon is underrated.
Yes, because it's granted, it's a Hollywood movie, but it also gives an interesting snapshot of the time.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of times where, you saw Sam Spade sit there take a phone call and it's in the middle of the night and he's like, I'll be there in like 20 minutes. He comes up 20 minutes later, he's got a 3-piece suit on.
Yeah.
Plus overcoat, hat, the whole thing. Okay, you don't see people doing that these days.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed that he was able to do that.
And didn't even think twice. Like, even shaved and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, that's how they did it back in the day. You sit there, okay, I'll be there. You don't show up in, sweatpants and tennis shoes. You're in full gear.
Let me roll out of bed with my bathrobe.
Yeah. And just how the characters interacted.
Yeah.
And the way they did the dialogue. Granted, it's of the time, but it's so well done. You don't see that in a lot of movies, especially today. Every now and then you'll have a director or a screenwriter that can sit there and really have a good script so the dialogue works, but that's why I always hold that as a movie. If there's a movie you're going to see in your life, that's one you really ought to watch because you really don't know who's playing who.
Yeah. Those are good picks. I knew that'd be a good question. All right, so I just have a couple more questions for, all of us, any of us, whomever wants to answer. So, since this is a book/author show, I thought we would give some book recommendations. So, we'll say, like...
I'm out.
we'll say... Well,
Angel of Death series.
I was going to say, you did yours at the beginning, when you were like Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
And
Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham.
Kidding.
Are You My Mother?
I used to love that book so much. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh, what was that Grover book?
Oh, the monster at the end of this book.
Yeah.
Yes, that's still a super cute one.
There you go. Those are my book recommendations. That and the Angel of Death. I'm
At
out.
least we got Angel of Death in there.
Yeah. Angel of Death is the first one, and then whatever you find.
So I will throw in my 2 cents on it because obviously Angel of Death is not going to be the only book I recommend, although I do highly recommend it as the author. But some of these choices might surprise you guys. So anybody who knows me knows that if you're like, what's your top 3 favorite books? I will immediately rattle off Lord of the Rings, Great Gatsby, and Jane Eyre. Everybody knows I will just rattle those 3 off the top of my head. But I really took some time to think about this. Specifically for this show. I was like, if I'm recommending other books, let's not just talk about my favorites. So I can't not recommend a book without obviously recommending Lord of the Rings. I am a huge Tolkienite, Huge fan. Tolkien kind of inspired some of the way that I write, because between him and Nora Roberts, they are very inspirational in how I form my worlds and write my characters and, have the detail or lack thereof, depending on what I'm telling you about. But some of my favorite things to write in my books are those quiet moments where there's no dialogue. It's just the character either being alone to be introspective or two characters interacting without words.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, and Nora Roberts does a good job at that, where she's got some good introspective stuff, and Tolkien, definitely. People make fun, they're like, I don't need 15 pages to describe a tree, but it's a really beautiful thing, I think, and that's part of what makes me love Lord of the Rings so much, and the whole series, for that matter. I have to do a library tour part 2 for the other social media, so no one has even seen everything we're looking at right now. It's all Lord of the Rings on the other half of the room. But basically, Lord of the Rings is just this phenomenal tale of perseverance and learning to believe that you are capable of accomplishing anything. Like, literally anything. If a hobbit can take the ring to Mordor and destroy it, you can publish your book. You can take that test. You can go see therapy if that's what you need to do. Like, anything. You can do anything. It sounds really weird and like overstated in today's society, but I think it's really true. And it also helps remind us that it's okay to ask for help with those things, because realistically, we cannot do it all. That's why I said I don't know if I would have made it through the cons without you guys there. So, the other 2 books are kind of going a little outside of my norm. I highly recommend Dean Koontz's Frankenstein series.
Nice.
It is so good. So good.
I haven't read that in a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, I've got them all up there on the top shelf where nobody can see because my shelves go so high. But all 5 of them are up there. There's 5 in the series. And it basically explains kind of what happens after the end of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So if you've read that, it's a really quick read, and it's very good study on the human condition, like and how we get so focused, you know what I mean, and obsessive over things. Mr. Zella had a hilarious pitch. In high school, we went to the same high school. She graduated before me, but we had the same teacher.
Yeah, I'm old.
And he had a hilarious thing that he did. Mr. Zella, whenever the class was studying Frankenstein, he took the song Maniac, and he would dance around the classroom and be like, I'm a monomaniac, monomaniac. And it was so funny. I will never forget that.
Yeah, no, he was the best English teacher.
Yes.
I read Beowulf because of him. Yeah. I read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein because of him. Yeah. He actually made me read.
Yeah. So shout out to Mr. Zella.
Yeah, definitely.
We love you.
Definitely.
So anyway, the thing about Dean Koontz's Frankenstein series is the monster ends up in the modern world, and it kind of explores what happens with the whole supernatural sci-fi thing coming together. Really, it has been a few years since I've read it, and I want to reread it because I love it so much. But the whole story just takes you by surprise. Every single book.
Oh, good.
You're like, whenever it ends, you're like, oh my god, I need to know what's happening next. And will the monster survive? Because I felt like there was always a question of, is the monster going to survive? Like, I want him to be around. Yeah. And then these weird little creatures and everything that that Dean Koontz created for it's just stellar. Just everybody needs to read it. Let's see. The final book that I would recommend is also kind of out of left field. It's a book called Breathtaker. If you've never read it, it is by Alice Blanchard. I have it right here.
I know the name.
Right here. It is called Breathtaker, and honestly, when I first got that book, I had no idea what to expect. I saw it at Half Price Books and was like, sure, this sounds good. I am notorious for judging a book first by its cover, and then I read the inside flap or the back or whatever for the synopsis, and I'm like, all right, this holds up with the cover. I'm going to get this and try it out. So
I'm glad we have really good covers then.
yeah, I've only had one book fail me in that respect, and I actually got rid of it because I hated it so much. Sorry, people who like Atonement. That is my least favorite book of all time. Okay, anyway. So basically, Breathtaker is a thriller book. It's just one book. It's not a series. It's a thriller where someone commits murder. You might really like it.
Okay.
They commit murder during a tornado.
Oh,
So they make it
So
look like the
covers-
tornado
yeah.
did everything. And it's this...
It's a good cover-up.
Oh my god, it's this incredible mystery thriller where they're trying to figure out, were these people killed by the natural disaster? Alright, I'm seeing some evidence that points otherwise. But no, it could have been... It's like this whole thing. It's so
fantastic.
cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's a great story. I've never heard anybody really talk about it, and I just picked it up.
I've heard it. I've heard about it. I just never got it.
Of course you have.
The vast knowledge. But
it was on the to-do list, to get the book, and read it.
Well, those are my 3 picks. So
What
go
are your
ahead.
3 picks?
Actually, it would be a book series, but the first book would be the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire trilogy,
Okay.
because it was done during the time between the original movies and when they started the prequels and stuff, and it was a great Kickstarter for everyone to, get caught back up with the characters that they had known at the time
Yeah.
from Return of the Jedi, and how they had grown or what direction they were taking in life. And it ended up being a really good trilogy of books. I actually, when I first read it, speaking of judging a book by its cover, literally I was at Walmart one day and was walking by and I just saw a Star Wars logo. I was like, what is that? Went over it, and it was the 3rd book of the trilogy, The Last Command, and I was like, okay, and I looked, and it had great cover art, and I was like, ooh, this is interesting. So I'm starting to read it, and I'm like, okay, I'll get it. Ended up reading that book, and then going back and reading the other 2, because the 3rd book was so interesting. I was like, I gotta go back and read the rest of it. And so
I think that you went backwards.
I didn't, but see, you gotta remember, this was back in the time before social media and the internet and stuff, so I didn't even know there was a book series out.
Yeah.
And so when that came out, I didn't know about it and just saw it. I mean, I missed the hardcover book. It was just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
So I got it. Got into it, loved how the characterizations, and even now Disney's taking some elements of characters from those books and incorporating them into the new Disney canon of Star Wars.
Oh, that's cool.
Second book, Go Like Hell. It's a car book.
I already like the title.
It's a great one. It's talking about the Ford-Ferrari rivalry back in the 60s, and how American car makers and stuff were getting into the racing scene and stuff, and how a little company like Ferrari that was dominating racing and stuff, they weren't really making enough money to really be viable, so they were sitting there playing what cards they had, and were like reaching out to the Americans, and of course Ford was like, "Oh, sure, that'd be great to have under our banner," and the deal kind of went south, and so the Americans, being Americans, they said, "Well, okay, they think they're so hot on the racetrack, we'll go out there and beat them," and it tells the story of how all these different personalities came together and made basically a perfect storm. You get introduced to Carroll Shelby, which anybody knows cars knows about, Shelby Mustang, stuff like that. How he got involved with the racing scene, and obviously the Ford people, Ferrari. But really watch it, not watch it, but read it. Well, they ended up taking that book and making a movie.
Did they make a movie out of it? The movie was
and the movie was very close. That's another thing. The movie was very close to the book. It was closer than a lot of people thought it would be.
Yeah.
So that's my second. And my third book, it's a new book. It's called Superman, the unauthorized biography. Hey, I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know it existed, and I love it because no, I didn't. I literally came across it. I was like, oh well, it's talking like that because I've been deceived before. I've come across books that talks like it's about Superman. It's not.
Yeah.
It ends up being about human condition and stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, I like a book about the human condition because we all. If you study the human condition, you understand how life is going on.
Yeah.
But this one, no, it's legit. It's really good. Goes into the history, which any buff knows, as she falls asleep already.
Sorry.
But it's really good, and I'm only about not even a quarter way into the book, and it's really interesting how they talk about the history and stuff, but they put it in a way, because everybody's read the history, but they put it in a way that makes it feel fresh and new.
That's really cool.
So, there's mine.
All right. So, last question before we wrap things up. If you were writing a book about your life, so an autobiography, basically,
Okay.
what would the title be and why? And I'll go first because I actually have thought about this. And I do plan on writing it in the future, but maybe not quite so autobiographical. More like a, little bit of fiction mixed in there.
A documentary?
Kind of, yeah. Basically, I would call it On the Knees of Storm Giants. I'm in love with that title. It came to me whenever we were actually watching The Hobbit in theaters. When they were battling,
Shocker.
right? I told you, Tolkien, man, he's got an influence on me. When they're battling this, they're trying to get through the storm giants and go into the cave before they fall into Goblin Town. So it's kind of basically me paying homage to such a prolific author and the influence he's had on me. But it's also a really great, phrasing to say what it's like to capture, have big dreams and go after them and, reach for the stars, so to speak, because you're just this little person in this huge world. So you're basically standing on the knees of all these giants that came before you and paved the way. So that's kind of, it's not even a whip right now, a work in progress. It's just a working title that I'm too chicken to write. So I'm writing Angel of Death instead. So if you guys have titles.
My life as an actor. Because really, I've been just acting, through my life. And I've played a different character at different stages of my life.
That would be an interesting, one-man show.
Really, because I was the, high school, I was the jock, I was the nerd, obviously, that never went away. The brain, because I, could read a lot.
He's gonna do
The Breakfast Club.
That's what I was gonna say. He's gonna do the one-man show.
No, I'm not doing that.
Because he can't be the criminal.
Oh, that's true. Well, it's not too late.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I don't need that.
The more you hang out with us, you'll become a criminal. It's fine.
Why do you think some of my characters are so skeevy? I'm kidding.
But I mean, in a way, if you look at your life, you are a different character at different stages of your life.
For sure, I feel that.
That's kind of what mine would be.
Yeah. Tosh, what would yours be?
I don't know. I've thought of a couple of different titles. I could go, well, that didn't go as planned.
I really like that one because
that's pretty much every time I think I have something planned out. Nope. Yep. Something gets a little monkey wrench.
Welcome to life.
Yeah, monkey wrench gets thrown.
There's another good title.
Yeah. My mom always said that if she was going to write an autobiography, it would be titled, "Well, how much time do you have?"
That's cute one.
Because of a brief period in her life, people would come up to her and go, "How are you doing? What's going on? What's new with you?" And she'd go, "Well, how much time do you have?"
I really like that.
And that would be my mom's autobiography.
Yeah.
So I figured mine would be like part 2 of that and go, "Well, that didn't go as planned."
Yeah. I really like that. See, you thought about it more than what you
A little
did.
bit, yeah. I mean, that's the PG version of it. I mean,
Yeah. Right. Well, Book Guardians, thank you guys so much for doing this interview.
Not a problem.
It was fun. I
Anytime.
hope you guys enjoyed it. I am super excited to have future episodes for everybody to watch because I think that we'll pose a motley crew of people to enjoy. So basically, in the future, we're all going to sit down together and just dish all about Angel of Death. We'll do some episodes where we talk about my writing process. We'll take questions from you guys, all of that kind of stuff, so that it's kind of seeming like a nice interactive show too, because I like
I'd love
it.
to do a good Q&A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
would love for
it.
people to,
Yeah, because I'm sure the fans out there would love to know what your inspiration was for
Yeah.
Angel of
The
Death.
future,
I feel
I
like
don't
we
know.
should do like a Q&A of
For sure.
a Q&A for any 3 of us.
Yeah, just
So,
like
for you,
yeah.
or if they have a Q&A, if they have questions about Superman or anything else for you.
I got a
they can do
feeling.
that.
I got a feeling after this
You
one,
want
I'm
pop
gonna get barraged. It's like, how do you put Maltese Falcon and sorority boys in the same group? And it's like,
in your defense, you did separate it by genre.
Yeah.
So, it's not that bad. We'll do interviews and stuff down the line where like y'all can turn the tables on me and we can do all that and put me on the spot with questions to
That would be
answer.
fun.
For everybody watching, I will pose the question for you. Tell us what the title to your autobiography would be. You've heard ours and some other really good ones that we just threw out randomly. So, just tell us what your autobiography title would be. Say it in the comments, and then we'll pick some for the next, video, and I'll, put it on the screen or give you like a little shout out if we think they're fun and interesting. So that'll be good. So that wraps things up for this week. Join us again next Thursday. We're going to have a whole new topic, and we're actually going to begin to journey into the world of Angel of Death now that we've gotten our nice introductions out of the way. So we'll give a brief summary of what the series is about and why you should read it, as spoiler-free as I can be. Which, at this point, nobody knows what's happening past book 4, so I can be pretty spoiler-free with that.
Yeah.
Only I know how it ultimately ends, but some people do have their theories, which we will talk about at a later date. But before we go, it is very important to me to just remind everybody in our audience, on audio and on visual, just please remember that you matter. Like, I just really want to stress the positivity of that. You matter. Each and every one of you are loved and you are worth it. And whatever you are going through, I just want you to know that you're not alone, and whatever your goals are, you will achieve them. Like we said, you can do anything. That's what Tolkien has taught us. So you're capable of so much, and we are all rooting for you, just to have that positive note. So kick ass and take names, and we will be back next week with another episode of The Composition of Imagination. Toodles!
Don't forget to check out the first 3 installments in the Angel of Death series, now available at steviejoauthor.com.